4th and goal to go to 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Here is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
Ta-da! According to Tankathon, the Giants now have the number 5 pick in the NFL draft. And I think one of the good things was, I do believe tonight, let me just check here and see. Check on ESPN. The Cardinals were beating the Cowboys. So the Cardinals had 2 wins, 27-17. Okay, so the Cardinals are now 3-5, and the Cowboys are 3-5-1. Okay, so the nice thing about that is that, let me go share my screen here. I'll show you Tankathon. Right, here we go. So, unfortunately, this is what it winds up coming out to be. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. But when your season goes the way the Giants are, sometimes it's all you got to look forward to, right? Okay. So now the Giants are 2-7. The Cardinals were 2-5. Now they're 3-5. So that's good. That's good. So So now there's, what do we got? 1, 2, 3. Now there's only 4 teams with 2 wins. So that's good. Very, very good. So the Giants are tied with the Dolphins. But the problem is when you got really bad teams like this and you're expecting one of these teams, the nice thing is here, right, is that the Jets and the Dolphins got to play each other. So somebody's got to get a win there, right? But as the season goes along, you start pulling for the Saints. You start pulling for the Titans. You start pulling for the Jets. You start pulling for the Dolphins. You start pulling for the Cleveland. You start pulling for the Raiders. All these teams down here that have 2 wins and whatever. You start pulling for them because you want them to get obviously past the Giants. But as last week, after the week was over, Giants had the 6th pick in the draft. Now we're down to number 5. That's cool. Which leads me to my next point here. The Giants need another weapon. Well, last week they had the Giants taking a wide receiver, but this week they have Giants, according to the mock draft. There's mock drafts out the yin yang here, but the Giants are taking another wide receiver who had a very, very, very impressive game this week. All right, so pick number 5, Mr. Tate, Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State. Junior, 6'3", 195 pounds. Tate is a long strider with big catch radius and reliable hands who makes contested catches downfield look easy. So far, he has 39 catches, 711 yards, 18.2 yards reception, 7 touchdowns. Position rank, he's 2nd. So last week, where's he at? What happened here? I don't think he's not taken now. See, that's a nice thing here, especially if the Giants are up there in the top 5. I know it's going to suck losing all those games, but a lot of these teams here need quarterbacks, so the quarterbacks are going to go, which leaves the Giants to pick of the litter. So the Giants can, they have to wait and see. There's an offensive lineman here, but let's see, who did the Giants? Last week they had the Giants taking. Oh, he must have fallen a lot. Where'd he go? Guy fell almost off. There we go. Jordan Tyson, from Arizona State. He was supposed to be one of the mock drafts I looked at. The Giants were taking him. His positional rank is 1st. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe the Giants were taking him last week. So regardless, the Giants at picking number 5 might have their pick of the litter as far as these wide receivers. That could be Tyson, who here is the position, or who's the 1st ranked wide receiver. But if not him, now part of this could also wind up being is that Tate had a great game. Great game. That could have shot him up this draft board here. His flashes quickness and short area agility to create separation at the top of his route and has the ability to make defenders miss after the catch. His ball tracking, route running, and ability to operate space make him a day one impact player at the next level. Day one impact player, the next level. Could you imagine maybe Tate and Malik Neighbors? Whoo! Right? Now you maybe got two weapons. Right? If one goes down, you still got a weapon. If two goes, it can only can do so much. You can't have 37 weapons. Well, if all 37 weapons get in, but you got to have two. If one goes down, you still got at least one. You still got a chance. But when you have no weapons, you basically have almost no chance. Almost no chance at all. Now, I got the Penn State, the interim coach from Penn State, because they just played Ohio State, said something about Tate over the weekend. Of course, Penn State made it competitive for the first half. Then Ohio State wound up blowing them out in the second half. But Penn State interim coach Terry Smith, I hope he gets the job. I hope for him. The other guy, I can't stand that guy. I hope Terry Smith gets a job. That would be really good. Penn State interim coach Terry Smith calls Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate the two best guys in the country and the best wide receivers in Ohio State history. So, I mean, we know, Ohio State, like what Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, they just like churn out wide receivers. So you get somebody, mentioning Tate, massively the best, or up there with the best wide receivers in Ohio State history. That's saying something. Let's see. Does it say there? Because I know I said he had a phenomenal. There we go. The Blitnikoff Award presented annually to college football's most outstanding receiver could wind up going to an Ohio State wideout, and it might not be sophomore Jeremiah Smith. Smith's teammate, Carnell Tate, is making his own case for the Blitnikoff with a breakout junior season, and he's just a junior. In Saturday's 38-14 win over Penn State, the dynamic duo combined for 11 catches on 11 targets for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tate hauled in a 45-yard touchdown, tying him for third in the FBS with 5 receiving touchdowns and throws of 20 or more air yards. Smith himself is having another big season. But Tate, who has been rocketing up the 2026 NFL draft boards, now has 4 games of 100 receiving yards plus a receiving touchdown, tied for the most in FBS. Receivers from the same team have never been Blitnikoff finalists in the same season. That might change. Carnell Tate. Here we go. Even if Malik Neighbors returns to 100% following his torn ACL and subsequent surgery, the Giants' weapons core is still far too bare to support Jackson Dart adequately. I mean, just imagine what this could do for. If you had Scadaboo behind you, the one thing is with Scadaboo is that he's not going to outrun people. He's not Saquon Barkley, where you can hand the ball, you give him a hole, he can take it to the house. If somebody comes to tackle him, Saquon can jump over the guy and continue on his way to the right. But with Scadaboo, he with Tracy back there. You give Tracy a hole, he can take it. But it all helps if you got the guys outside. It opens up everything. You can't load the box. You can't put 7, 8 guys in the box and go ahead and run. Well, yeah, you got a light box and you hand the ball off the Scadaboo. There's only so many guys in there that can try to bring them to the ground. If you got a light box in there, if you can somehow get a hole, Tracy can take it to the house. But having those 2 wide receivers opens up everything. New York needs a yin to Neighbors Yang in the wide receiver room, and Carnell Tate absolutely qualifies. The 6'3", 195 pounds. If he puts on a little bit of weight, we're looking at 200 pounds, 205 or whatever. Wouldn't be bad. 6'3", nice height. Nice height. Not 6'5" or something like that, but 6'3". He's a nice size. Good wingspan. Tate has been one of the biggest revelations in the 2025 college football season. He entered the year as a day 2 graded wide receiver on this guy's board, whoever this guy is, I'm not sure. But has reinvented his game as a route runner and skyrocketed to top 10 standing. A masterful technician and dynamic vertical and red zone threat all in one. He's exactly what New York needs. I mean, that would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, got to get somebody. And the one thing is that with the trade deadline coming as 15 hours? About 15 hours from now, trade deadline is going to be over. The one thing you're talking about getting, like, bring a Waddle in here or Chris Olave, or so whether those guys are available or not, who knows? Whether any of those trades get made, who knows? But the one thing is with those guys is that there's good and bad, obviously. With Waddle, you know what the guy can do. Why? Because he's done it. You know what he can do. The problem is it's the double dipping, right? Or whatever you want to call it. You got to trade draft capital and you got to pay the guy. Now, Waddle, he's under the next year or two. He's under, his contract's not bad, but in like 2 years, I think it skyrockets. Same thing with some of these other guys. You got obviously you got to trade draft capital to bring them in, but you get a known commodity. What these guys can do. Look what they can do in the NFL, right? But you got to trade draft capital, and then you're almost tied to them, because it's like if you trade away, just say a second or third round pick or whatever, to bring one of these wide receivers in, and you don't re-sign the guy. I mean, you just shot yourself in both feet. I mean, that's just crazy. So you got to make sure the guy stays around. But these guys have been in the league for quite a few, so they want to get paid. And going rates for a nice wide receiver, anywhere from a good wide receiver, anywhere from $20 to $35 million. Very, very expensive. The thing is, with drafting a wide receiver, you can look at their college film and all that, and you kind of, they should do well in the pros, but you're not exactly sure. But they should do well. But it only costs you one draft pick, and obviously, if you're drafting somebody in the top 5 or 6 or whatever, they're making some good money, rightfully so. I mean, that's just that's just the going rate, right? It is what it is. But if you draft a guy in the say 5th overall right now, where the Giants are, got a long way to go. The Giants win a few games. Now they're drafting 10th. The Giants continue to keep losing. We might be drafting 3rd. Who knows? And with some of these quarterback needy teams, if the Giants are drafting like 2nd or 3rd, somebody might want to jump up with them and trade, and Giants collect some draft capital, which would be good. But anyway, the Giants just stay at 5th. I think it's it might be like $7-8 million a season for the guy, because that's what the going rate is, somewhere around there for like the number 5 overall pick in the draft. But you got the guy for 5 years. The first 4, you're just paying him like $8 million a season. I mean, if you get yourself a different, like a Malik Neighbors, we're paying the guy, it stinks because we're paying him now and he's injured. But I mean, you could say what he did last season, and we only paid him like $7 million or whatever it was. It's like, holy cow. I mean, that's a bargain. Same thing with Jackson Dart. What we're paying him right now, he's the 25th overall, 26th overall pick in the first round. Paying him nothing. And he's starting. So, but the thing is that with one of these wide receivers, you get them, you give up your first round pick, but they're cheap and you got them for 5 seasons. And even when you pick up their 5th-year option, you're still not paying them $40-50 million a year. So, but I mean, as you can say, there's nobody that's frightened of the Giants. I mean, look what Dart's doing with pretty much nothing. Just imagine if you had, gave him another weapon, what he could possibly do. So let's hope. You don't know if it's going to be Shane in here. pulling the trigger next year in the draft room or not. But let's hope that, if the Giants, however they're going to do it, get somebody in the first round, somebody in the second round, whatever. But let's hope that whoever's in charge of the Giants next season winds up getting Jackson Dart another weapon.